So I welcome the first speaker of the day, Jyotirmoy Ganguly, who is going to talk about on the divisibility of character values of symmetry groups. And since we are a small number of us here, if you have questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. So the title. Yeah. Okay. So I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak here in this virtual seminar. The title of my talk is on the divisibility of character values of symmetric groups. So we will explore the asymptotic behavior of ratio of irreducible character values of Sn, where Sn denotes a symmetric group. Okay, so I will make the statement precise as I go along the slides. This is joint work with Amitan Suprasad and Steven Stallone. So to set the stage, let me recall some definitions and notations. So we know that the irreducible representations of the symmetric group Sn are parameterized by partitions of n, lambda, and we denote the irreducible representation corresponding to lambda by v lambda. Often they are called Spech modules, and we denote by f sub lambda the dimension of the representation v lambda. And it's a well-known fact that the irreducible characters chi lambda mu, by what I mean that you chi lambda mu is the character value of v lambda evaluated at the cycle type mu. All these irreducible characters take integer values. So it makes sense to talk about divisibility of the character values. Okay, so the Young diagrams are pictorially the partitions lambda are pictorially represented by Young diagrams. We denote it by calligraphic y lambda, and for each box, so let me use the figure to define what is a hook of a cell and what is the hook length. Perhaps you all know that, but still, for a box A in the Young diagram, the hook is the collection of the boxes that lie in the right of A, that lie below A, and the box A itself. And the length of the hook is called hook length of the hook located at A. So in this particular example, this is a Young diagram of the partition 6, 4, 3, and for this box A, the hook, this boxes shaded in gray denotes the hook, and the hook length is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. You just count the number of boxes.
Sorry, to make your talk effective, can you give a half a minute introduction to Young diagram? I used to know it in my younger days.
Okay, so the Young diagrams are pictorial representations of partitions. So you take left justified array of boxes, right? And you suppose the partition lambda is lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, lambda L, then you put lambda I boxes in the ith row. You put that in such a way that they are left justified. For example, if you take the partition 6, 4, 3, in the first row you put 6 boxes, in the second 4 boxes, and then the third 3 boxes. So this gives you the Young diagram for the partition 6, 4, 3. Is it okay? Hello?
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Okay. So now we define the concept of core of a partition. So for a positive integer t, a hook HA is called a T hook if the hook length is equal to T. And we obtain from a partition lambda of n, we obtain its core denoted by core T lambda. Its T core denoted by core T lambda by successively removing all possible T hooks. So I will give an example that will help you to understand. Suppose I take this partition 3, 3, 1, and I want to find the 2 core of it. So I have to remove all possible 2 hooks from this partition. So you draw the Young diagram for 331 and look at this cell. This has hook length 2, so you remove this hook. Then the remaining or the resultant partition is this. Now again you look at that this partition has hook length 2. You remove that and you keep on doing that unless you stop at 1. There is no more cell which has hook length equal to 2 or divisible by 2. So this is the core 2 of the partition. Okay. So now some results on the number of T cores for an integer n. So you fix a positive integer t, and let Ctn denote the number of T core partitions of n. So this is a result from the paper by Anderson, which I have given in the bibliography at the end. So we know that for t equals to 2, C2n is less than equals to 1. And in particular, C2n takes the value 1 when n is a triangular number and 0 otherwise. So t equals to 3, the result can be obtained from the paper by Granville and Ono. The result tells us that C3n, the number of 3 core partitions of n, is bounded by this polynomial 3n plus 1. And what about t greater than equals to 4? That is a result in this paper by Anderson. So Ctn for t greater than equals to 4 is bounded by these polynomial expressions. So for the purpose of this talk, we summarize these results as: for every positive integer t, there exists a polynomial ftn such that Ctn is less than equals to ftn for all n greater than equals to 0. So the number of T core partitions of n are bounded by a polynomial expression in T and n. Okay. Now, okay, I'll stop here for a moment and take questions if you have any. Okay, if not, we can talk about the Q code tower. For a prime number q, we can construct a Q code tower which is unique for a given partition lambda. So we will just recall some relevant aspects of it. So the Q code tower is a Q-ary tree, rooted Q-ary tree. That means each vertex has Q children, and the rows of the Q code tower are indexed by this number 0, 1, 2, ... and the ith row of the Q code tower will contain Q to the power I many nodes or vertices, and each node will be labeled by a Q core partition. In particular, the 0th row of the Q code tower will be labeled by the partition core Q of lambda. Again, I will give an example for Q equals to 2. So we found the core of this 2 core of this partition 331, and the 2 core tower of the partition will be as the picture as in the figure. So the 0th row will be labeled with the partition core to lambda, which is 1, and the first and second row are as this. The ith row for I greater than equals to 4 will contain only empty partitions. That's why I haven't drawn those rows in the figure. Okay, so this is one example of a 2 core tower. Now I will recall some properties of the Q code towers which will be useful for this talk. So remember, the ith row contains Q to the power I many nodes. Here, if you see, the first row contains 2 to the power I, 2 to the power 1, that means two vertices or 2 nodes. The second row contains 2 to the power 2, that is 4 nodes, and so on. So in general, if you take a Q code tower, the ith row will contain Q to the power I nodes, and all the nodes are labeled with some Q core partitions, Now you take the total number of cells appearing in the ith row and denote that by Wi of lambda. And it follows from the construction of the Q code tower that sum of Wi lambda into Q to the power I equals to n, where the sum runs up from I equals to 0 to infinity. Okay, and the total number of cells appearing in the Q code tower will be denoted by W lambda, and we call the quantity W lambda to be the weight of the tower. One more important fact which follows from this equation is the number of cells in the ith row for I greater than log Qn will be 0. In other words, the rows indexed by I where I is strictly greater than log Qn will remain unoccupied. Okay. Now if you take a query expansion of n as this a0 plus a1q plus dot 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 plus arq to the power r, where each ai is among these integers from 0 to q minus 1. This is a query expansion of n. Now you denote the sum of the coefficients by an. So one cute formula is this, which gives the q-adic valuation of f lambda, which is the dimension of the representation v lambda of Sn. I'll repeat again. So f lambda is the dimension of the representation v lambda, which is the irreducible representation of Sn corresponding to the partition lambda of n. So the q-adic valuation of the dimension of that representation is given by weight of the tower minus the sum of the coefficients n divided by q minus 1. So one can read the q-adic valuation of f lambda from the Q code towers. Okay. Now, before I go to the main result, I will state a result on the divisibility of these dimensions. Okay, I will stop for a moment. So I will use these results in the later slides. So if you have any question, you can ask. Okay, so this is one result that we proved. So you fix a prime q and a non-negative integer m, then you consider these ratios. So in the numerator, I have the number of partitions of n such that the q-adic valuation of f lambda is bounded by this quantity m plus q minus 1 into log qn, and the denominator is Pn, which denotes the total number of partitions of n. So the result says that this ratios tends to 0 as n approaches infinity. So the proportion of the partitions of n for which the q-adic valuation of f lambda is bounded by this quantity tends to 0 as n approaches infinity. Okay, so to prove this, I will give you a sketch of the proof, which uses very elementary combinatorics. So for a positive integer b, we will just count the number of partitions of n with the q-adic value, for which the q-adic valuation of f lambda is bounded by b. So we'll count this partition and try to find this ratio, and later if I put b to be equal to this quantity, we'll get the result. So for that, I just want to go back to the previous slide. So we know that the q-adic valuation of f lambda is given by this ratio, right? Now if this is bounded by b, then we get a bound on the weight, the total number of cells that appear in the Q code tower. So That bound is basically this. We use some other properties to get this log qn, this is quantity, but basically what this is giving is, if you want to count the number, if you want a partition whose quadratic value, for which the quadratic valuation of f lambda is bounded by b, then the total number of cells that appear in the q code tower must be bounded by this quantity. Now I will again go to the previous slide. Note this result. We saw that the rows indexed by I, where I is strictly greater than log qn, is the rows remain unoccupied, right? And if you take n to be this, if n has this qi expansion, then log qn is strictly less than r plus 1. Therefore, so the total number of vertices which we get to put all these cells are bounded, if I denote that by capital N, are bounded by this quantity. So this is the number of vertices in the first row, this is the number of vertices, sorry, in the 0th row, this is the number of vertices available in the first row, and this is the number of vertices available in the rth row. So the sum is, this is a geometric progression, so you can add them like this, and since q to the power r is less than equals to n, I get the bound to be qn. So the total number of vertices available is capital N, which is less than qn. So again, I have in the figure I have a 2-port tower. So this colored circles denote the number of positions available for us. And suppose there are the weight is w. We have a bound for the weight. So we know the maximum the number of cells to put in the 2-port tower. So this is like the problem that how many ways you can put the weight w into n vertices, and we know that the result is w plus n minus 1 choose w. So we will just calculate this to count the number of partitions lambda of n.
Just quick question.
Yeah.
In this picture, what is W and N? Can you remind me?
Yeah. So this is not this is an arbitrary picture. By this I mean these are the positions where you can put W.
I see. And what is the capital N?
Yeah. I will go back to this example. This is an example of a 2-port tower. So here W is 3. So you have 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
And capital N is 4 plus 2 plus 1, so 7. So bounded by 7, exactly 7 here.
Okay. Thank you.
So here I have just drawn a picture to show that we have some vertices where we can put cells. So the number of ways to do that is this w plus n minus 1 choose w. So this will give us the count for or an upper bound actually for the number of partitions lambda of n, such that the periodic valuation of them is bounded by b. Okay. So now, let p be n denote the number of partitions lambda of n, such that the periodic valuation is bounded by b. And suppose so qn was the bound. Qn was the bound for the number of places. So I will not go into the detail because it will take time, but we are just using this formula to count the required number of partitions, and let p be n denote the number of partitions of n whose quadratic valuations of lambda are bounded by b. Then we will get a bound for pbn like this. So in particular, if we put b to be m plus q minus 1 into log qn, we get nb to equal to this. So we can put nb in this expression. Whereas, so you just look at this exponent. The exponents are polynomials in log qn, and all these quantities n, q, these are fixed. Whereas the Hardy-Ramanujan asymptotic formula for the total number of partitions Pn tells us that this goes to this quantity 1 by 4n root 3 e to the power pi root 2n by 3 as n tends to infinity. So in the power of e, root n is present. So this grows much faster than this. So if I want to make this, want to tell this precisely, if you take log q for both the expression to compare the growth of the exponents. So the log q of PBN is basically little o of n epsilon, n to the power epsilon for every epsilon greater than 0. Whereas if you take the the log q for the asymptotic formula of Pn, you get such expression where c is a constant, and these these grows faster than n to the power half minus epsilon for any epsilon greater than 0. And from this we conclude the result that the number of partitions of n for which the q-adic valuation of f lambda is less than equals to b, that proportion goes to 0 as n approaches infinity. I mean, one can just stare at these two formulas and get the point what I'm trying to. Because this component is, this exponent is a polynomial in log qn, whereas in the power of e, here in the power of e, root n is present. So this grows much faster. Okay. So now I will try to state the main result. So by a formula, from a formula by Michel Lazal, we get an explicit formula for the character values of the symmetric groups. They are equal to, like, chi lambda evaluated at mu will be equal to f lambda by the following factorial nk and into some quantity a lambda mu, and this quantity is given by an intricate formula that you can find in the paper, but in our paper we showed that this will be an integer. Actually, there is as an example or as an application of this formula, we can take some small examples. Basically, how this gives a very this gives very cute formulas for character values in terms of contents. Those of you who are familiar with representation theory of symmetry groups, so they are familiar with the notion content. So in particular, the character value at the conjugacy class 2 1 1 1 1, the character value is given by f lambda by n choose 2 into total content of the partition. Okay, so we will just use this formula to get to our conclusion. So before I begin the statement of the main theorem, so we fix a partition mu which is equal to mu1, mu2, mu_m of an integer k, and I fix a positive integer t. Now for a partition lambda of an integer n which is greater than equals to k, let chi lambda mu denote the character value of Sn of the representation corresponding to lambda evaluated at the conjugacy class, which is given by this cycle type. The components are mu1, mu2, mu_m, and you add ones at the end so that you get the sum as n. Remember, this mu was a partition of k and n was greater than equals to k, so you have to add n minus k ones at the end. Okay. So this is the main theorem. So for any positive integers k and d and a fixed partition mu of k, the ratio of the partitions or the proportion of the partitions of n where the character value chi lambda mu is divisible by d tends to 1 as n approaches infinity. I will repeat, the proportion of the partitions n such that the character value chi lambda mu is divisible by d tends to 1 as n approaches infinity. And the proof just uses the divisibility property of f lambda. So we know this explicit character value formula from Lazal. So we know that for most of the partitions, for any prime number q, for most of the partitions, this f lambda is divisible by high powers of q. So we just calculate the q-adic valuation of this following factorial. This is just product of n consecutive numbers, n into n minus 1 dot 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 up to n minus k plus 1, and we give a bound for the q-adic valuation of this following factorial. So that since this is divisible by high powers of q, this whole thing is divisible by high powers of q, because this is an integer. So in particular, the q-adic valuation of the character will be greater than or equals to the q-adic valuation of f lambda minus this, and since this has a bound, we get the result for a prime number q. Now for any integer d, it will have a prime factor. It will have prime factors, and for all the prime factors, we can use the result. So we have the result as. Okay. I will mention some references. This is our paper in Electronic Journal of Combinatorics, and this is a paper by Anderson that I mentioned, and this is a famous paper by Lazal where he gives an explicit formula for the character values of symmetric functions. And these are the paper by Granville Ono, Hardy Ramanujan, and I.D. McDonnell. The concept of Q-code tower first appeared in this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyotirmoy.
So I will just open this slide which contains the main theorem if you want to ask.
Okay. Any questions for Jyotirmoy?
I have a short question.
Okay.
Sure.
In physics, we are familiar with permutation symmetry
Yeah.
in the context of identical particles.
Okay.
So, like when you consider a collection of identical particles having different quantum numbers, we do use Young tableau and so on.
Sure.
Physics, atomic physics.
Okay.
So, can you relate your theorem to some physical situation, just to because at the moment, at least to me, it's abstract. So, I think you should attempt to relate it to some physical phenomena in quantum physics. Talk to your friends who do quantum physics. I think that's the idea of the institute seminar, so that we create relations. We try to understand.
Yeah, I right now I don't have any idea about quantum physics or so. So I will definitely try to do that.
All my colleagues use Young tableau, left and right.
Okay.
In nuclear physics, in for example, when they consider properties of quarks.
Okay, so one thing I can tell you, I can maybe interpret this result in terms of Young tableau itself. This result. So f lambda. So you have a Young tableau, and f lambda denotes the standard Young tableaus. That means you fill the Young tableaus by the numbers 1 to n, such that the rows are increasing, the numbers are increasing from left to right and from up to down. You fill the boxes of the Young diagram in such a way, and the number of ways you can fill 1 to n in this manner is denoted by f lambda. F lambda is the number of ways you can fill the Young tableau by the numbers following these two rules.
Yeah, my point is, if you find a relevance to some real physical situation, it will be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So thanks, Jyotirmoy, for the talk.